Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about how we can solve problems. We're going to run into ones that have absolute value now. So you got to remember, though, before we can get started, absolute value means the distance from 0. So if I have like the absolute value of 6, that means how far is 6 from 0? That is 6. Or if I have the absolute value of negative 10, how far is negative 10 away from 0? Well, that is 10. Okay, so absolute value means distance from 0. So we're going to get started here. So we got these problems, okay? So whenever we see an absolute value problem, we need to think about, we're going to think about the method of looking inside, okay? So we got to first cover up everything. When I see this, I have nothing on the outside of the absolute value, so I'm just going to go right for the absolute value. So I'm going to cover up everything and think looking inside. So the absolute value of what equals 22? So what number has a distance of 22? What numbers are 22 away from 0? Well, we have two situations here. We can either be at positive 22 or we can be at negative 22. That's what we would have to be on the inside of there. That's what my hand would cover up with my finger if I were to put it on my problem. So then I'm going to say, well, if I have to be those two, I'm just going to set each of them equal to 3x minus 5. Okay, so 3x minus 5. So we're going to have two possible answers here. So now solving this here, I'm going to add 5 to both sides. Okay, so I get 3x equals 27. Divide by 3, so x equals 9. Or if I do the other one, I'm going to add 5 to both sides. Okay, and on this one, I'm going to get 3x equals negative 17. Divide by 3. And this one equals negative 17 over 3, or negative, see that's 5 2/3, so for negative 5.6 repeating. All right? So absolute value, whenever you see an absolute value problem, you're going to have to use looking inside. But you got to have everything on the outside of the absolute value gone first. So I want you to try a problem here. I want you to look at your note sheet. I want you to try problem A, pause the video, try problem A, and solve it, and then resume the video to get to the answer. All right, so now that you resume the video, there's nothing on the outside, so we're going to cover up everything on the inside. We're going to think absolute value of what equals 8. Okay, so in this case, I know I can be either a positive 8 away, or I can be at negative 8. Those are the two numbers that have a distance away from 0 being 8. So now I'm going to remove my hand from there since I use looking inside, and I'm going to set 4x plus 20 equals to 8 for both of those. Okay? And now solving each of these, you're going to solve each of them independently. So you minus 20, minus 20. You can do that on both of them at the same time if you prefer. I don't really care. So on each of these, we're going to have 4x equals, on the first one, when we do 8 minus 20, we're at a negative 12. And on the other one, we're going to do negative 8 minus 20, and we get a negative 28. Now we're going to divide by 4, so on one of them we get x equals negative 3, or we're going to divide by 4 on the other one, so we got to get x equals negative 7. So we have our two answers. So for absolute value, you have two answers, unless you're at 0. Okay? Now remember, you can't be a negative distance away, so if you have absolute value equals a negative number, that's no solution. So okay, make sure you be careful of that. All right, so now this one's on your note sheet. I know this one's already worked out, but I wanted to walk through it here, okay? So I have 5 times the absolute value of 2x plus 3 equals, or minus 6 equals 29. So when we do this one here, we got to think about looking inside still, okay? So when we do this, or we're going to think undoing, I'm going to go ahead and cover up my absolute value here. All right, so we're going to cover up our absolute value. I don't know why that's not working now. My pen's not working now. Okay, we're going to ignore that. Okay, then we're just going to have to do the best that we can here. Let's see. Can I grab that? There we go. Okay, so I have my hand here. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Oops. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties on my end. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and resume this. So we're going to ignore the whole absolute value. I'm just going to make that my hand. Okay, and we're going to think, okay, we got to get rid of everything on the outside of my hand first. So I got to think about the hand as like an x. Okay, so I got to get rid of a minus 6 first. So I got a plus 6 both sides. We can't do the absolute value until everything on the outside is gone. So that's what we're doing. Getting rid of everything on the outside, the absolute value first. And this problem is on your note sheet as well. So we're going to have 5. Then I'm going to leave my hand. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and copy it down though. Okay, so it was 5 times 2x plus 3. The absolute value of 2x plus 3. I'm going to bring that down just so I have that. But that's still remaining my hand. So if I go back and I put my hand on there, it'll still stay there. Okay. And then I have 29 plus 6, which is 35. Now I need to divide by 5, so I get whatever my hand is has to be equal to 7. So I'm going to remove my hand here, and I have the absolute value of 2x plus 3 equals 7. So I just do inverse operations on the outside, just do undoing. Now, it's just like what you were doing before. You just need to think about what number. So if I move my hand back in there, okay, I don't know why all those other numbers are showing up. Let me see if I can get rid of them. Delete, delete. Okay, so now we just need to think, the absolute value of what is 7? Well, we have two possibilities. We can either be at -7 or we can be at a +7. Okay, and then what did we cover up though? What number on the inside has to be those? Well, that has to be 2x plus 3. Okay, and now it's just solving each of these independently. So when you solve the one up here, you should get x equals a -5, and on the one on the bottom, you should get x equals 2. And those should be your two answers there. So remember, when you do these, if you have the absolute value, you need to get rid of the numbers on the outside first. So it's not like parentheses. We can't distribute that through. Distribution does not work here. So do not ever distribute with absolute value. Okay, so you just need to get rid of everything on the outside first, then you can think about the absolute value. So this is a little bit different than when we have parentheses. All right, so now I want you to pause the video and I want you to try B on your note sheet now that you should have gotten. Okay, so resuming this now, I'm going to go ahead and cover up my absolute value and think of that as an x like I did above. So I'm thinking something like 6x minus 4 equals 14. I need to get rid of the -4 first, everything on the outside first, the plus or minus stuff first. Okay, so I'm going to do plus 4. So I should have 6 times, now I'm going to get rid of my hand, this is 6 times, it's like your parentheses, but it's not, x minus 8. Okay, the absolute value of that equals 14 plus 4 is 18. Now I got to think, how do I get rid of timesing by 6 here? So if I had 6 times hand, how do I get that by itself? Well, I need to divide by 6. So I'm going to take both sides. Okay, I'm going to remove my hand so it's out of the way. Divide by 6, divide by 6. So the 6's right here cancel out. And I'm left with x minus 8 equals 18. Oh, sorry, the absolute value, that hasn't gone away though yet, of x minus 8 equals 18 minus 6. 18 divided by 6, which is 3. Now we can think about putting our hand in there. Okay, so the absolute value of what is 3? Okay, the absolute value of what is 3? Well, that is 3 or -3. So we're going to go ahead and set each of those equal to, what did our hand cover up? X minus 8. So that's just like what we did at the very beginning here. So x minus 8. Solving each of these, we should get x equals 5 and then x equals 11. So remember, absolute value should get 2 answers unless you're equal to 0, or if it's negative, it's no solution. But remember, you cannot distribute with absolute value. You got to get rid of everything on the outside with inverse operations, and then you solve. Okay, so make sure now on the back side of your sheet, you complete those 10 problems for your practice work tonight, and get that turned into Canvas for me, and make sure you check it with the answer key. Okay, and have a great rest of your day.